2 days ago, conservative leader Pierre made a press briefing about cracking down on fentanyl. And in one of those measures was life sentencing for carriers of over 40 milligrams. So we are going to go over that, and we are going to go over a response about that today on Niagara Due North. I'm your host, Parmesan. Good morning, Canada. I'm your host, Parmesan. Before we get through with today's episode, could I please ask you nicely to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you find this video entertaining. So we have Pierre the other day making an awesome announcement on bringing life sentencing to fentanyl kingpins. That, I don't know, I feel like he didn't go far enough, to be honest with you. If we're talking about a crackdown, I would have went with a zero tolerance policy. And then I would have walked it back later on after a few years. Right? We're talking about a crackdown, right? So he brought in other measures that aren't really as important, but he also said that he's not going after the little guys. I'd go after everyone. I'd do a full-on assault. Okay, I'd bring the military in, for Christ's sakes. I don't think Canada can do that. RCMP anyways. Power in politics. You'd never be surprised. Like, never let that guy slip through your fingers, okay? He might be cool one day. You might think he's cool one day, but then no, he's not. We're going to react to a criminologist from Quebec. So, criminologist from Quebec reacting to Pierre's choice on that. Because I watched it and I thought it was so ridiculous, guys. I had to make a video about it. So, we've all heard the fentanyl spiel. I don't know if any of you have had anyone affected by fentanyl. Just about everybody I know is affected by fentanyl. I'm not in the upper echelons of society, so I usually know somebody that has an issue with, it might not be fentanyl, it might be something else, but if I don't know somebody, then I know somebody that knows somebody. And I think the amount of people that I know that have died from fentanyl in my community, of a pretty small community, it's not that big, dozens. In the dozens. I mean, it's since my adult life, right? So, over the course of like over a decade. But, dude, none of these people were old, right? All of these people would be alive and young today still, right? So, we see the lethal amounts. 2 milligrams. Enough to kill somebody. Look at this. We have to deal with this immediately and hard. This is not a normal circumstance, and this isn't busting down homeless people. This is a serious issue manufactured by the higher ups, okay? And we need to crack it down right now. I don't even think 40 milligrams was good enough. I think it should be 10. I think it should be 5. Like, open this up. Get these people off the street. And let them know you're serious about it too. 40 milligrams sounds fair. We're not being fair right now. We'll be fair after we crack down. Once I see numbers going down, then we bring the numbers down. Then we start being fair about it. This has gone on for far long enough. Like I said, my adult life. When I moved out of my hometown when I was 15 plus years ago, my town had no homeless people in it. There was not a single homeless person in it. Too small. It's too small to have a homeless person. There's only like 30,000 people in it. Now there are homeless people everywhere in a small town. Let's get into the crooked mind thought behind some of the higher up people around this kind of stuff, making the rules based on this stuff. It's enough to make you vomit.
Stop drugs to save our people and put Canada first. It starts with locking up mass traffickers and manufacturers of this poison with penalties that fit the crime. But what is that crime? Let's call fentanyl trafficking what it is. Mass murder. Selling 40 milligrams of this poison is enough to kill 20 people. It's like spraying bullets into a crowd. You might not know who you're killing, but it's certain someone will die.
Poillievre also suggested there would be a 15-year sentence for traffickers convicted of selling fentanyl.
I just want to comment on that. Right? So, you have to kill 20 people before you get life in prison, right? I mean, 20 people aren't going to die off it. There's people that look for fentanyl. Like, they talk 2 milligrams. 2 milligrams might kill me. Like, if I take 2 milligrams and just put it on the tip of my tongue, it might kill me, man. It's not going to kill these guys. These guys are pumping like 8, 10, 12. Dead serious. People out here doing fentanyl. It needs to be dealt with. I fear the withdrawal consequences of a mass population withdrawal.
In smaller quantities, between 20 and 40 milligrams. Justice Minister Arif Virani issued a statement reacting to Poilievre's proposal, saying his proposed solution isn't just extreme, it's completely detached from reality. It would sentence thousands of often struggling and desperate fentanyl users to life behind bars, regardless of their medical condition. An absurd, unconstitutional approach that has no place in Canada.
See? That's crazy. Maybe in normal times, okay? Maybe in normal times, but this is an extreme time. We want this cleaned up, right? Do we want this over with or not? This is the problem with the Liberal government. They say they want it over with. They don't want it over. Trump wants it over with. Now you're going to do it. Get it gone now. I don't think Pierre went far enough.
Joining me now to help us better understand this proposal is criminologist with the University of the Fraser Valley, Yvon Donderon. Sir, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
So first off, before we even let this guy talk, okay? Quebec, Canada is super lean on criminals. It's crazy. This is definitely like a place you want to do a major crime. This is one of the best places you can do a major crime in the world. Norway, I think you just go to a hotel. I think they put you right up in a hotel if you're in Norway. You go out and kill someone in Norway, they'll prop you right up in a hotel. You'll have all the video games and everything. You'll have a complete luxurious life.
Here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Pierre Poillievre says he is targeting kingpins with this proposed legislation. The Justice Minister has a different interpretation. How do you view who would likely get caught up in a law like this?
Well, it's not our first experience of that. You know, those mandatory prison sentences were very popular with conservatives during the Harper years, and we're trying to go back to this. But unfortunately, those measures were ineffective then, and they will continue to be ineffective. Mr. Poillievre says that he's going after kingpins. Well, kingpins don't go around with 20 milligram of fentanyl in their pockets, or 40. Clearly, the people who are likely to be caught with that.
Okay. Neither does the people this guy's describing. And I know this. He doesn't. Okay? The fentanyl heads living in the tents that are supplying their own habits, don't have 40 milligrams of fentanyl on them. They would get murdered if they did. If one tent person found out another tent person had 40 freaking milligrams of fentanyl on them, they would murder them. Easily. These people that these guys says is going to be affected by this are not. These are the people that he says are going to be affected by this are going to get cleaned up by this.
Kind of quantity, minimum quantity of fentanyl around them in their person, in their possession, are going to be people who are in the lower rungs of criminal networks, people who are totally dispensable from the point of view of criminal operations, and oftentimes people who don't have a choice or people who are desperate and are trafficking at that level, low level, just to support their own habits. So in that sense, the Minister of Justice is right. I'm not sure to what point it's unconstitutional, but
it's also more of a truth that these people, what they're selling is dillies, and what they're mostly getting is not fentanyl, but just fentanyl mixed with like oxys, or they're just doing oxys, or they're just doing heroin.
because I haven't heard this argument, but clearly
Right.
it's at the very least, it's ineffective.
Okay, I'll get to the constitutionality in just a second, but I want to ask you about that 40 milligram amount. Look, according to the DEA and other things I've seen today, 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be deadly. So 40 milligrams has the potential to kill 20 people. You know, it is not obviously a safe product. I've covered some drug busts in my career, and it's always kilos of a product that is taken in. How much is 40 milligrams of fentanyl relative to, you know, a normal fentanyl trafficking operation? Because I've seen arrests with much larger numbers. What do you make of that being the threshold for life in jail?
Well, the numbers we have in mind when we're talking about drugs don't apply to fentanyl because fentanyl is extremely potent. So if you're talking about a gram of marijuana or cannabis,
Yeah, I think 1,000 milligrams is a gram. Milli, 1,000.
it's one thing. If you're talking about a gram of fentanyl, it's a very, very different thing. However, just to quote recent numbers, one of the big seizures that the law enforcement succeeded in accomplishing recently was 23 pounds, right? So what, 10 or 12 kilos or something like that.
Right.
And that was a mega seizure. So we're talking about very
that's
small
millions of
quantities.
people.
However, oftentimes those drugs are mixed with others. So how you measure them, it's difficult because they're so potent. You need just a trace of fentanyl.
That's literally like a
added to
terrorist
some
attack.
other,
Like you can just go and dump a
synthetic
little bit of
drug or
fentanyl in
any
people's
drug,
drinks,
and you have
just
something
all around,
very
just
potent.
sprinkle
So
it in everyone's
it's not
drinks
as if
everywhere
people
you
always
go.
go around with pure fentanyl in on their person or in their house or in their vehicle. So it's hard to know exactly
Right.
what 40 milligrams. You're right, I think, David, in saying that most studies say, well, 2 milligram is enough for an overdose. It's not automatic, but it's possible to overdose. Hopefully people don't use 2 milligrams when they are using. Part of the problem oftentimes is the people who are using don't know exactly what they're using. It's been mixed, it's been tempered with, it's been added with others, offered with others.
Yeah, so most of the tragic deaths are like middle class white high school kids who are trying to do Valium or trying to do E. I call it E. Or like Coke or something like that, and then it ends up having fentanyl in it, and then they end up dying because they've never done fentanyl before. Like I said, there's people 40 milligrams. That's just a good day.
Substances. So it's hard for people to know what they're consuming. It will also be hard for police officers to measure whether you got 20 milligrams or 22 milligrams. And I can bet you people on the street are going to make sure that they have less than 20 or less than 40. Send 2 guys with 19 milligrams instead of 1 guy with 40. So, it's a bit of a ludicrous kind of proposition, knowing how the
one
market
problem with
functions.
law
Right.
is
It's interesting,
numbers.
though, you make the point that because of the potency, the smaller volumes matter more relative to other drugs and the conversation we normally associate with these things. But the life in prison as a minimum sentence, or as a mandatory sentence, excuse me, for if you're arrested with more than 40 milligrams, we've seen the Supreme Court strike down mandatory minimums before because they were too broadly applied, but left it open to the possibility that it could be applied if narrowly construed. Like there are mandatory minimums for murder and other different things in the Canadian Criminal Code. I wonder on this one, because Mr. Poillievre was asked today about the constitutionality of this, and he cited Section 7 of the Charter of Rights, which speaks to people's right to life and liberty, and said that because the Charter guarantees the right to life, this would be a Charter-compliant legal proposal. Your sense is that how this works?
Well, would you look at that? That's a really weird one, isn't it? Making sure it's compliant. See, like, have to get through with special laws and stuff, and this guy's still not gonna do it. Big thing that Pierre really dislikes. One that the Liberals, I don't know if the Liberals did it or if it's been like this for a long time and he's never liked it, but we don't stack murder charges. You can't get charged for 6 murders. You'll just get charged for a murder. That's it. Like, we need to fix some stuff, man. We can't be getting away with this. Don't be telling me Canadian society brings up murderers. Kooky people out there, man, that really, like, this poor guy only killed 8 people. Okay, he can't, you know, we have this severe problem with personal responsibility, and I want to see that come back. I want to see people sticking up for themselves, standing up for themselves, picking themselves up. I picked myself up. I used to be a drug addict. Nobody got me out but myself. My wife got me out. Ow. I just hit my hand. But, you know, if I can do it, anyone can do it. There's nothing special about me. I know the secrets to get out. Got to get the hell out of town. That might be a good platform plan. You know, find homeless people who volunteer to just move to a different part of the country and reestablish somewhere else. I think that's a good idea. Get them a job out in the oil fields, because that's going to be growing like mad. Guys, these people. Watch me tomorrow so I can show you some more of these people. Thank you very much. Please comment down below. What do you think about personal responsibility? Do you think the government needs to take care of everyone? Do you think white people need to take care of everyone? Do you think people need to take care of themselves? Comment down below. My name's Parmesan, and this is Niagara Due North. Thank you guys very much.